Hi, I'm going to discuss tearing your force sensor or re-zeroing it, but they're both used fairly interchangeably. So I've got my iOLab, I've got a force sensor here, and I've got the little eye bolt screwed into it, and I've got a couple of 204 gram masses, so they end up being 2 newtons each. So if I go ahead and if this is properly calibrated, then when I hit record with nothing on, it should be 0 with nothing on. Okay, so that means that when you put on 2 newtons of force, right, I've got this hanging off the eye bolt, down is the negative, right? So this is registering negative 2 newtons of force. That should make sense. If I put 2 of them on there, it should register about minus 4 newtons of force. Okay, that should make sense. Okay, if you go ahead and you start, if you know that you have 0 at the start and that is your 0 state, you can find on the screen this little button that says Rezero sensor, and then even if it's slightly off, you can re-zero it. I'm going to stop right now. These are my previous measurements, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in on just the values just when it's 0, right? You can see you have some digitizations and it's not exactly 0, okay? So what you can do is if you re-zero the sensor, what it'll do is it'll try to force things to be 0. But if it's not currently running, it's like, I don't know where the 0 is. What did I do? Where did it set the 0? And it looks like it set the 0 to be what the values were right at the beginning, right? But even then, it's not perfectly 0 right there, okay? So you can see that the values aren't 0. So if I go ahead, I'm just going to hit reset, and I'm going to re-record. If I go ahead and I re-zero the sensor right now, it's running and it forces it to re-zero. So if I hit stop right now, and I zoom in on just that, you can see that it's re-zeroed right on the 0. Okay, so now it's re-zeroed, it's right at 0 with nothing on, okay? So that when I put the minus 2 on, it should be exactly minus 2 newtons. It will only be exactly minus 2 newtons if you've got a really good force sensor and a really good iOLab. It might not be exactly minus 2 newtons. So if you go here and you analyze this data and you find the average, you can see it's slightly off. This is totally normal and totally to be expected, okay? So don't stress if your values aren't perfect. These are very cheap force sensors, okay? So we've talked about the 0 and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm just going to hit the record. So now you've got this. I've got minus 2 newtons. What if you wanted, instead of finding this, you wanted to find the difference from this point? Okay, so instead of zeroing at the start, you could actually say re-zero right now. Okay, so that means that it's going to measure everything with respect to this point. So if you put on an additional minus 2 newtons again, instead of it showing minus 4, it's now showing minus 2, because remember it was zeroed with this on. So that means if I take this off, instead of going back to 0, it's now at plus 2. By re-zeroing it with the mass on, you effectively changed where its 0 was. Okay. I will stop that right now. Just keep that in mind. So it's better to hit that re-zero sensor while it's running, and it does affect everything you measure after that point. So if you forget and then you hit continue right now and you think that it should be fine, it's not, because you still have that 0 on, but you can hit the re-zero sensor again. So it'll always do whatever it is while it's running.